Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Steven from Tech Overseas. Now, if you have watched my last video, you've seen that we have built a user authentication feature using mostly Cursor AI. Now, in the meantime, I have changed few things and I'm going to show you what I changed and why I changed it. Now, in this video, we are going to focus on implementing a payment gateway solution and also having an account management page where we can see our successful order in this account page. Now, I will put some time code in the video so you can skip directly to the payment gateway implementation. So let's go in our code, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually revert the last commit. So I'm going to do git reset head, and now we can go in our changes and I can show you that what I did, it's mostly UI. I let Cursor AI actually build the login page, and you will see in a second how it looks like. Now, one of the things that I did, and I had to give specific prompt, is to integrate Google SSO. And so it actually installed this Google authentication library, which is React OAuth Google. And so we are using this use Google login, and we need to pass some callback. So on success, we actually get a code response, which contains an access token. And when we get this access token, we can get the user by fetching this URL. And so when we get the email, we send the magic link. Now on error and on non-auth error, we are just showing a toast error, or we are just setting the loader to false. Now in our homepage, same thing. It has just reworked the UI and it has just created a very simple landing page. Now in our account page, what we have, same thing, it has reworked the UI. And so we have our account detail and we are showing the email of the user when the user is actually authenticated and logged in. However, for now, this button does not do anything and it's not going to do anything. It's just Cursor AI that has created this button. Now on the layout, I have created an app bar, so which is a nav bar. And again, this was done using Cursor AI. I have not done anything. If the user is authenticated, we are showing the accounts button and we're also showing a logout button. And if the user is not authenticated, we are showing a logging button. Now on our login page, we get the session token from the cookie, we call our get user function from our authentication file, and if the user is authenticated, we redirect directly to the account page. So we do not want an authenticated user to have access to the login page, and we do not want to have a non-authenticated user to have access to the account page. So on the account page, same logic, we get the session token from the cookies, we get the user, and if the user is not authenticated, we redirect to the login page. Now, a few things that I did, I also created a logout route where we are actually removing the session token from our HTTP only cookies, and we are simply returning a success. Let's actually show you how the website looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to discard all those changes. I'm going to pull the latest, so git pull origin, so I get back all the changes, and now we are good to go. So let's go on the home page, and as you can see, it's a very simple landing page where we have a login button, we have a banner, and we have some like features and testimonials. Now this login button will redirect to the login page, and this sign up button will also redirect to the login page. Now these three buttons are not doing anything because I have not created a page for these, but you get the idea. So let's click on our login button. And so this page was created only using Cursor AI. Now let's actually check the flow. So we can either sign in using the email address or we can sign in using Google Authentication. So I'm going to show you both. So we go in our temporary email, we go back on our website, we click send magic link. And so now we have a success message and it has sent our magic link to our email address. Let's go on our email address and we are going to see the email in just a few seconds. Now in the mail, there is going to be a link. And so when you click on the link, it will redirect you to our website and it will automatically log you in. So here you have your magic link and login. So I click on login, I go back on the website, and now you can see I'm actually logged in. So we can see my email and we can see the account detail, and I'm on /account. Now, if I go on /login, you can see that I'm automatically redirected to /account because we don't allow an authenticated user to go on the login page. Now, let's actually log out. we go back on the /login, and I'm going to log in using Google SSO. I select my email. Now, if you have not done it the first time, it will ask you to give some permission. Once you give some permission, it will go back to our page and it will show you magic link sent. Now I can go on my email and I can see I received my magic link. Same thing, I can click login, I can open the page, and now I'm logged in. So I can see my email, and if I refresh the page, it keeps me logged in. Now, if I log out, if I go on my account page, you can see that I'm being redirected on my login page because I don't want a non-authenticated user to have access to the account page. So as you can see right now, we have a fully functional user authentication feature. Initially on my video, it took 10 minutes to create the user authentication flow, and this landing page plus the login page took me around 30 to 35 minutes. So everything together, it's kind of like an hour, okay? So now let's go ahead and proceed with our payment gateway implementation. So what I want to have is when I'm on the home page under the testimonial or somewhere here, I want to have a list of products. And so each product will be a card of product. It will have a title, it will have a placeholder image, and it will also have a price and a button. And so when you click on the button, it will trigger a checkout. So a Stripe checkout, it will create a checkout. And then when the user put all their information, when they validate the payment, you will go back on the user account management, you will see the order, and I will receive a notification by email that my order was completed. I have actually created a prompt. So same thing like last time, I'm not going to bore you with this kind of detail. So let's actually press on Command-Shift-I and it opens the composer view. Now I can paste my prompt. And so the prompt that I created is I want to implement a product listing on the home page so that users can click a buy button that redirects them to the Stripe checkout page. Now I gave some instruction. Each product should have a name, price, and image. I want to have individual cards for each product. Each product card should include a buy button that initiates a Stripe checkout process. I also want to set up a webhook that will create an order in the database when the purchase is successful and also send a confirmation email to the user. And I also want to create an order summary section on the account page in order to show a list of all the orders. So let's press enter and let's see what it's doing. So as you can see, I haven't specified any file in the composer context. The only thing that I did is I used the @codebase in order for Cursor AI to use every single file from our codebase. Now, the first thing that it's doing is actually updating the schema. However, first thing I see is I do not want to have a new product table. I want these to be hard-coded in the code. So I'm going to change this. Now, in the home page, it has created a grid where each product is actually a product card. And so it has also created the product card where we have our product image, we have our name, description, price, and we have a button in order to buy the product. And the button is actually redirecting to /API/create checkout session. Now on our page, it's fetching the product, but again, I don't want this. In Stripe, we have our user, so we are getting the user from the session token. If there is no, we are fetching the product. If there is no product, we return error. Then we create a session with Stripe checkout session. Now on our webhook, we are getting the Stripe signature. This is good. We are constructing the event, also good. We are checking for checkout session complete, which means that whenever a payment has been completed, we create an order in the database and then we send a user notification by email. Then in the account page, it has created a table where we have the order ID, the product, quantity, total, and date. This is good. Now in the page, now we are actually getting the orders from the database. This is fine. Now something is like, I don't want to have a product table. Can you please hard code the product in a file and also use some placeholder images at web. So I'm actually putting at web, so it's going to go through the web to get the product images. So let's wait a few seconds, and here we are going to see which file is going to be impacted by the changes. The first thing is it has created a product file, which is good. So we have 3 products. So I'm going to ask it to create one more product. So this is good. It has removed some things that we had before. Now the product is getting it from the data product. In this route, we have this. Okay, this is good. Now in the product, can you create one more product? So hopefully it's going to create an additional product because I want to have 4 products in my grid of products. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is good. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to check also what it's told me to do. So as you can see, we have npm install Stripe, a node mailer, we already have it. So I'm going to accept all the changes, and let's close Composer. Let's open a new terminal. Let's install Stripe and then install the latest version. So we can see in our package.json that we have Stripe 16, so this is good. In our Prisma, we are going to do npx Prisma generate, and then we are also going to do npx Prisma db push. So we add the new orders table. So it's getting rid of most of the errors. Let's go through the file one by one. So in here, in our checkout session, we have a problem with the API version. So if you want to get the latest API version, either go in the TypeScript definition, or what you can do, you go in your dashboard here, you go in the developer tab, and here you will have your API version. So you get this, and here you replace the version. Just like that. Now it's getting rid of the error. I guess in the webhook we have to do the same. So here you just put the right version and it's getting rid of the error. Now in our account page, what we have is we do not need this because we no longer have a product table. So now in our home page, what we have here at the bottom, we have our grid of products. In the product card, we have our handle by. So here I can say, can you please use React query? Because I do not want to use the handle by just like this. So it's going to refactor everything. Let's accept. And as you can see right now, we have our use mutation. And so when we get the URL, it's actually going to redirect to the checkout session. So this is good. Now let's check our create checkout session. So we get the user, this is good. So something we want on success, we actually do not want to redirect to this. On cancel, we only want to redirect to the URL, which is good. We do not want the metadata. So for this, we can say, can you remove the metadata and use the client reference ID instead? Because the thing is, what we are going to do, we are going to get the user ID from the client reference ID instead of having the metadata like this. So here we can have this. Now we don't need the product ID, so I can remove this. So we are looking good so far. We have our Stripe signature. We are constructing the event. This is good. Now, as you can see here, we do not want to have this. And you can see that Cursor AI is automatically telling me that I want to use the client reference ID. So I'm going to use the client reference ID instead. Now we have our product ID, we have the quantity, the total, and then the stage is completed. It looks good for now. So let's move on to the Stripe implementation. So when you're on Stripe, two things that you have to do. As you can see, we have our Stripe secret key and we have our Stripe webhook key. So your Stripe secret key, we are going to add this. So we go in our end, we put the Stripe secret key, and then we also put the Stripe webhook key. So this and this. Now, in order to have these, go on the home page of your Stripe account, and then here you can see secret key. So you click here, it's going to copy your secret key. So you can put your secret key here. And for your webhook, what you're going to do, you can go here and you can search for webhook. Now you're going to go in the first link. And so here you're going to actually have to click here on add a local listener, or you can add an endpoint. So if you're in development, you can add a local listener. If you're in production, you can add an endpoint just like this. So here we click on add a local listener. And here it's actually going to give you here your secret key. So I'm going to take the secret key. I'm going to add the secret key here. And so now there are a few things to do. We actually want to redirect the events locally so we can catch them. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to do Stripe logins. So I have already done it, so I'm not going to do it again. Now what you do is you copy this command. So you take this command, you go back on our code, and what you do is you open a new terminal and you're going to do Stripe listen forward to. And so we want to forward to /3000 and we want to forward to whatever webhook URL we have. So we have /API/webhook. So here we're going to do /API/webhook, and then we press enter. And as you can see right now, it's ready and it's going to listen to every single event that we will receive. So now we can close this. We don't need this anymore. And now I think we are ready to test our application. So let's go back on our application. Now, if I refresh the page, you can see that now at the bottom, we actually have our product listing. So we have 4 products and each product has a title, a description, a price, and then an image placeholder. Now, if we click on the buy now button for the $49, you can see that now we are being redirected to a Stripe checkout page where we have the product title, the price, and a bunch of information that we have to give. Now, for the card information in development, I will put a link in the description, and you can actually use this link, which will give you some card testing in order to simulate some specific payments. So you can simulate success, you can simulate error, you can also simulate by country, you can simulate by brand, whether it's Visa, MasterCard, and so on. Now, for our example, we are going to go back in our email. We are going to get our email. And for the card, I'm going to put the most famous one, which is the 424242, which is the Visa success. Now, for the expiration, it can be any expiration in the future. And for the CVC, it can be any 3-digit number. Now, I'm going to put Steven, and for the country, I'm going to put France. So I'm going to click on pay, and I'm going to quickly go back on my application in order to catch the event notification coming on the webhook. So I'm going to click paid and then go back on the application. And as you can see right now, we have our 200. So we have the charge succeeded, we have the checkout session completed, we have the payment intent succeeded, and so on and so on. And so what it did, if I go in my database and if I go in the order, now you can see that I have an order and the status is completed. So as you can see right now, it has redirected me to the account page after the payment was successful. And now in our order history, we have the order ID, the product, the quantity, the total, and the date. Now, if I go in my emails, you can see that now I should have received an email in order to tell me that the payment was completed. We are going to have order confirmation. So I'm going to click on order confirmation and then thank you for your purchase. Your order for blah, blah, blah has been confirmed. Total is $49. Now, if I go on the Stripe transaction, as you can see now, if I go on the latest one here, 8 September at 8:27, so 1 minute ago, the $49 was actually successful. And so I can see that it's my user, so it's my email. And so I have the order actually logged in here. I received the email and the whole implementation is done. Now, the good thing with the local webhook implementation is that you can actually go here and in our checkout session completed, you can press command and click, and then it will open in a new tab and you can actually see the event that was sent to our webhook. So you can see that it's an object, and in this object, we actually have our client reference ID, which is our client ID. And you also can see that you have some custom data, which are here metadata, and we have the product ID. So the product ID is the product number 2. Now, if we go out in our code and if we go in the product, you can see that the client has bought the number 2, which is the one for $49.99. So just like that, you can actually debug and see what is being sent to your webhook endpoint. Now, one thing, when you create a checkout, so let's go back on our checkout endpoint here, you can see that here we have actually hard-coded some data. So there are 2 ways to create a checkout. The first way to create a checkout is to actually send some price data. And so this price data is actually an object. However, there is also a second method in order to create a checkout. And so for this, you need to go on Stripe and you go in here in product catalog. So you click on product catalog. And so you need to basically add a new product. And so when you add a new product, so let's say, for example, I'm creating a SaaS product and I'm going to create a one-time payment. I'm going to put USD. It's going to cost, let's say, I don't know, $20, and I'm going to add the product. Now, when you add the product, it's going to actually create a variant of this product. So your SaaS product is your product, and then your pricing, it's a variant of the product. So you click on the pricing, and what you get here, you get a price ID. And so when you create a checkout, and I'm going to show you here with API documentation, you can either use my method, which is the price data. And the reason why we have this is because we have hard-coded some product in the code base. Now, what you can also do in the line item, you can also pass the price ID here and the quantity. As you can see, in just a few minutes, we were able to implement Stripe payment integration in order to create a checkout session, in order to sell our goods or services. We were also able to create an account management page where the user will see a list of orders. So obviously it's very simplistic, but if we add the user authentication and the Stripe implementation and the account management, everything took about an hour and a half. And as you can see, you have a fully functional website where you have your user authentication, you have your order history, and you also have your product listing where people can just go and buy your product and you receive the money. So as you can see, Cursor AI has made it very simple and very quick in order to get a prototype set up and running, in order to sell something online, and in order to create a website. So just to summarize what we did, let's go back on the code. So the first thing that we did is we actually created a checkout session endpoint. So when we call this endpoint, we are basically creating a Stripe checkout session. And so when you create this checkout session, it's going to return to you a session object, and this session object will have a URL. And so on the front end, when we get the success URL, we actually redirect the user to the URL. Now, when the checkout is actually completed, we want to filter for the checkout session completed in order to receive only when a checkout has been completed. Now, if the checkout is canceled or there is an error, we can simply return to the cancel URL and we return the user back on our homepage. So obviously we can put some error message, we can create a specific page for it, which we haven't, but this is something which you can actually do. So on our webhook, when the checkout session is completed, we are creating our order in the database and then we send the email to the user. Now, the next thing is we have created a product card. So the product card is actually rendering our image, our name, description, and the price, and also has a button in order to buy the product. It has also created some hard-coded data, which we have used in our application. However, we have also seen that you can actually create products in Stripe directly. And so each product can have different pricing. And so what you can do, for example, let's say that you are selling a service, you can create one product for this service, and then you can create different pricing for each of the pack that you are selling. For example, let's say that you have a standard pack, a pro pack, and a premium pack. Each of these different packs can have a different pricing. And so what you're going to do for each pricing, you're going to get the price ID here. You're going to copy the price ID, and in your application, instead of putting the name, the description, and so on, you can instead put the price ID. So when Stripe will actually create a checkout using the price ID, what it's going to do is going to pull out all the information from the pricing in Stripe directly. So that's it, guys. I hope you like this video. I hope you learned something new today. If you have any questions or if there is anything you would like me to cover next, let me know in the comment down below. Thank you for watching, and until then, happy coding.